Hey there, I'm Michael Violin with Fiddlershop.com, and welcome to another edition of Michael Explains It All, the Warchal Amber edition. Warchal Amber edition, that sounds nice. So, hey, first things first, welcome to the new studio. Still deciding if I'm gonna keep this angle. I've got some nice colorful acoustic paneling behind me. But we're loving the new space, all the new digs. I'm very excited. So, Michael Explains It All. Maybe overshooting a little bit. Maybe Michael explains a lot of things. Michael rambles about strings for a long time. Hey, I've sort of come to accept the fact that these are not going to be punchy, short videos. To me, you can find quick little descriptions about that. I want to talk a little bit more at length, so I apologize that it's not, brevity is the soul of wit is not what's happening here. And of course, they're doing construction downstairs too. So I apologize for some extra sound. I'll try to record when they've stopped, if I have to. So, Amber strings by Warchal. They're a new set of strings. I didn't really know about them because until I made this video, because they only started making strings in 2003. Slovakian company started by Bojan Warchal? I don't know. It's probably Warchal. I feel like the W and stuff. Anyways, besides the point, I'm already getting off subject. They were designed to sort of mimic a lot of the qualities of gut strings. So they're a little bit darker, have a more complex tone. They take a little bit longer to settle in. I almost was gonna film this yesterday or the day before, but I was like, I'm just gonna leave them on for another day to really get them to settle in as they recommend doing. So go for it. Some interesting string materials. I'm gonna talk about the E in a second, but the A is, what I have in my notes here. So the A is, they're all synthetic core. So nice, stability, easy to tune and stuff like that. The outside is a hydronallium, which is sort of an aluminum alloy. And the D is the 703 that's included in kind of the most standard sets. Is 703 refers to, that's just their code, for the hydronallium and silver winding. I think you can get, don't quote me on this, it looks like you can get a 703S, which is the hydronallium and silver mix, but I'm not sure that's always available. So check what's available. And then the G is the steel and silver mix. So the E is what I want to talk about for a second because it's cool. The problem with a lot of E strings is that they whistle while they work. Sorry. So this sort of patented design is specifically created to combat the whistling E, and it does a fantastic job at it, I might say. I have used the Warchal E, just not the set before. So you'll see when it's completely new, it looks like a spring. It looks like a pencil spring or something, and it only covers once you stretch it out. That springiness only covers like the part that's over where your bow would play. You don't really notice it on your fingers when you're playing it. So, very cool E. It's one of the only, I think it's the only string that has this sort of design. Yes, there are other, I believe Kaplan has a gold spiral, E, spiral core? I don't know if they do. But there are some other E strings that are designed that have sort of that, a little bit curve to it to try to combat the whistling E. So it's a very cool design. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna stop talking and play a little bit for you. And you'll probably see some colorful things on the screen. This is a little bit of a harmonic analysis, or it's showing you all the frequencies that we're seeing in the harmonic overtone series. Here we go. Okay. play the open strings for you. All right, so very interesting strings. I was never really understood that whole graph thing about complex and subtle strings, but it makes sense when you hear a string like this, that there's a complexity there. There's like an inner core to the sound that is much like the way we think of like anybody that's talking. Like it has like this. There's sort of like an inner struggle in the string. Not for that to sound like they don't speak well. They speak very clearly, but the sound has this complexity to it that you just don't get with like Eva Perazzis or something. It's just like a very clean, very clear. These have a really interesting. We're talking about tone and timbre here, but maybe it's easier to say they're not quite as dark or brooding of a sound as obligatos. They're definitely warmer and like a richer, much more like developed sound than dominants. Dominants are a great place to start because a lot of people know dominants. And for me, for this violin, this is the Fiddlerman Artist Violin, and I'm using the Holstein 2-star bow. It's the same violin I've used in all these string videos. Links in the description box below, blah, blah, blah. It's not an incredibly dark violin, so, I mean, sometimes it's kind of, I chose this because it's a versatile instrument. It doesn't have a strong personality one way or the other. If your violin is a little bit on the brighter side, these would do a great job if you didn't really like the sound of dominants, because a lot of people think dominants sometimes are a little too shrill, a little too sterile sounding. This is a great way to sort of give your violin a little bit more character, a little bit more quality, give it a little more, give it an education. So very nice. Up here on the E string, I'm not sure what that was. Not the strongest projection. Not as strong as I think Eva Perazzis. I think those ones, or even some of the more expensive Perastro, some like the Pies are going to have a much bigger projection. So it's not about, projection isn't everything. A lot of people want a little bit more concealed sound. Not concealed, but some interesting quality to it. I'm rambling here. I think if you already had a very dark instrument, a very kind of warm colored instrument, a lot of our Mingjingju instruments are by nature kind of dark. This might be a little too dark, a little too much of that husky kind of sound. You might want something a little clearer, and that's sort of the whole premise of why I'm making these videos, is that every violin every person is gonna have a different perception of what they want to hear in a violin, whether it's, and it's a little bit of mixing and matching. It's a lifelong pursuit. There's no right or wrong answer. Don't let anybody say, oh, I think Eva Perazzis are the best, so they're gonna be the best for you. These are, we're making a soup here. Soup? I don't know. I've never made a soup. I don't know if that's a good analogy or not. Have I made? I can like dump a can in a bowl and things. Anyways, let's take a look at the graph and see if there's anything interesting. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is all the frequencies we're hearing. We've got, this is a little bit of throwback to our harmonic series, the overtone series, because when we're talking about timbre, these are all the things we're hearing. We're hearing these overtones and how clearly we're hearing these overtones. And so it's very subtle. This is a little bit more just for your information and enjoyment. to see, okay, here's the fundamental, on the bottom. If we're looking at the A, here's A440, and then, the second line above that, this is an octave above that, and then I think it's a fourth and a fifth, and it goes up and up and up. So we're hearing all these frequencies, some more than others, and this is just a visual way to sort of confirm. I don't know that I can deduce any information, maybe that's the word I'm looking for, from this graph to say, oh, clearly these are brighter than obligatos. Maybe I will pull over the dominants here. You can see a comparison. And of course, to be fair, I did record these in different rooms as much as I try to keep all the constraints the same. And I may be a little bit farther from the microphone in one case or the other. I'll let you stare at this graph for a little while if you want to. Feel free to pause it and see, and let me know in the comments if you see anything that stands out. All right, that's all I have to say about the Warchal Amber violin strings. Again, very nice string, very complex tone. A little bit brighter than obligatos, not quite as powerful as Ava Perazzi's, a little bit warmer, more complexity than dominance. Great playability, easily playable. They respond very quickly. Tuning stability is great. They do take a little bit longer to settle in than a lot of other strings, so give it some time. Don't make your judgment. Don't make a snap judgment. I love that podcast, by the way. Anyways, so if you're interested in finding these, picking it up, put them on your violin, get in touch with us. Find the link that's below. You can find it at fiddlershop.com. Thanks for watching.